it has to die.
Yeah.
Chasm terminus
But
is
yeah, so
in
because
enemy hands.
this is actually
But
why
that
it's really
doesn't
important
mean-
that you keep Spidey Sense on, because that's not Spidey Sense breaking. Because the
station's
cool thing about
auto-schedule
Spidey Sense
I
actually,
know. No. I'm not.
reporting is
No. I would
is
never.
really good.
I would never say anything bad about Robin. He's a godsend. He's an angel. It's not Spidey Sense breaking at all. It's Spidey Sense showing a discrepancy between the game and the mod. And the really crazy thing is that my brain still hasn't adjusted to react to a purely visual indicator as like there is a threat immediately, because I'm still waiting for the sound cue. Because in my mind, it's like this strapper is 30 meters away potentially. You know, she hasn't made sound.
Sound is the important key, and this is like, and there's a bunch of reasons for that. But one of the most fundamental ones is just that the amount of latency that your brain has in audio processing is just lower. And the other reason, and this is something that is particularly difficult in Dark Tide, the number of different indicators that you need to see on your screen in Dark Tide is absurdly high. The game's really
it is genuinely hard to just pay attention to the Spidey Sense circles like at all.
That's why I haven't installed Spidey Sense, because I just don't think I'd find it helpful. I mean,
It's
it would be sometimes.
saved my life a couple of times.
So, but what I mean is that I often feel like, you know, it's when you're really overwhelmed, and that tends to be where, you know. But yeah, I think this is why I think you should leave it on. It's just because it means every time you see one of these, you can actually report what's going on. Because if Spidey Sense doesn't pick up the event until basically all the audio cues play and stuff, what that means is the event wasn't transmitted to your server. Basically, transmitted to your client. The server failed to update you correctly. And this is the same thing as, you remember the Crusher doing the overhead and not syncing with you?
Yeah, no animation, just straight up clap.
So, and basically this is, so I was going to call that lazy updating, but lazy updating is basically the idea in a system like this. Because you know how I said you're running a simulation? What it means to be running a simulation is literally that, like, all the server needs to send to you as a piece of information is like, there is a dog going from here to here, right? And the thing about that is your client then handles the rest. Your client knows how to animate the dog, it knows how the dog's AI works, it knows this and that, and so it would literally just simulate the dog until your thing updates it again and says, by the way, it's actually over here. And this is called lazy updating because the idea is that instead of, you can imagine like a really shit version of the system where the server is literally telling your client every frame of animation. It's saying, in this frame, he's in this position, he's doing this animation. And the thing, when you write netcode like this, one of the things you're trying to do is to minimize the unnecessary information that you're sending. I might be completely wrong because I simply don't know the networking details here because we can't see the server code because it's not in, you know, we only have the client. But I'm pretty sure that it is not aggressively updating the state of enemy agents as much as it could be and as much as it should be. Because from my point of view, I would be like, it's one thing to try and like minimize the amount of data sent, because it directly costs money, right? Like, the more packets you're sending, the more bandwidth you're using at the server farm, blah blah blah, the more likely you are to have congestion issues. People with
I would so gladly be able to just host my own like virtual Dark Tide servers to imagine.
But also, the other thing is, there needs to be a high data rate option. Like,
oh, do I? You're right here, dude. It's easy.
So my feeling is that
oh, no. Holy shit!
Save me on.
You're not off the map.
Yeah, but I'm 1 HP.
That kid's right here, brother.
Yeah, this is something that I really just need to find a program and also about this, because what I think should be happening is, you know how there are some entities that are what you would describe as high priority?
Yeah.
So like, I would say any elite within 15 meters, any specialist within 15 meters, as far as I'm concerned, those should be, they should get a special update thing. I want to hear about them every 0.1 seconds. I don't care, like anything else, just tell me about them every 0.1 seconds. And I suspect part of the reason why this isn't done is that it causes a lot of visual interference if there's any network problems. Because if you're getting an update every 0.1 seconds, it also means that you can potentially be having their state adjusted every 0.1 seconds if there are tiny discrepancies. But it would also mean that you would never ever be essentially, even if it was slightly jerky, you would always see what they were doing. The other issue, and I think this is something that...
I'll take the jerkiness, honestly.
Yeah, and the other problem is the animations. And this is again something that I don't know, but I'm pretty sure based on how the games behave in general. They cannot play sounds starting partway through. I think this is simply something that the audio engineers do. I'll actually ask the audio guys. But like, this is actually...
You're completely right.
And this is a classic problem in like a whole bunch of rollback solutions in fighting games. So rollback is...
What? Oh, that is not fair.
Ugh.
At least we got that count.
And by the way, if I'm talking while they're doing stuff, just don't shut up.
No, it's okay. Silence, British.
Yeah, it's just, you know...
Rotto's getting mutant thrown into a net. That's just like, okay, dude. I respect the teamwork, but that's worse.
But yeah, like so there's this thing in so you know when I describe when I talk about rollback versus delay netcode, do you know what I mean roughly by those terms?
I know it's like a fighting game term, and usually rollback is like preferred, but I don't strictly know exactly what it does now.
Okay, well, I mean, actually, the difference is quite simple. Delay is what Vermintide had, and rollback is what Darktide has.
Okay, I want delay in this game.
Well, let me finish. The reason why in fighting games delay used to be done is because delay is the easiest implementation. You literally just basically say everything happens later. You just say, okay, you and this guy, your inputs are going to be this much slower, and because everything's happening in delay. And for fighting games, this was a nightmare because, for example, in Street Fighter 4, there were combos in that game that might require 3 or 4 one-frame accurate inputs. And on the delay, someone just comes in and says, by the way, you're on anywhere between 100 to 150 milliseconds to delay this game. Have fun remembering the timings of those inputs. It was a bit of fun. But it's also just that for an FPS, delay doesn't affect some things as badly, because it's like in a fighting game you have a lot of like state sensitive stuff where, you know, an input has to be in the context of a state, but in an FPS it's like a big chunk of what you're doing is aiming, right? And so your aiming isn't adjusted by this, because if it takes you 0.1 seconds to point at something, you know, it's fine. Your crosshair isn't being put on a delay. You still feel like you have full control of your camera. That can all be locally simulated. In principle, rollback is always better than delay if done correctly, and the reason for this is that rollback is actually a superset of delay, which is a very fancy way of saying that at the core of a rollback solution is...
I know what that means because I've actually studied, I actually spent 4 years in university craft. I know what a superset is, thank you very much.
Yeah, so, but I mean in a technical sense. No, don't worry, I know you mean what superset is.
Thinks I'm an idiot.
You are an idiot, but for different reasons.
Yeah,
that's
but 4 years of linguistics, yeah, actually a golb is part of the superset cat, yeah.
I was actually meant more that it wasn't clear what it means in this sense, because why would you assume that rollback and delay have the same underpinnings? And the answer is that in most rollback implementations there is some delay built in. And what you do is you basically just set it up so that the game is always running on a very slight delay, and that means that you can hide like the most basic connection problems. Like, you know, if you're on 30 ms, you can say to someone, is 30 ms an acceptable amount of latency to always have? And a lot of people would be like, yeah, you know, that was even pretty much okay in like Counter-Strike 1.6. 30 ms wasn't too bad. It wasn't quite as good as LAN, but if you're playing on 30, well, it's not so bad. You know, it feels a little bit looser, but it's fine. And that's part of it. But the other thing is that, again, rollback essentially says, we'll give you the illusion of being local, and then we have to figure out how we deal with situations where your local simulations diverge from the actual simulation. And almost all of the issues in Darktide come from either disagreements, and so this is where, I think we talked about Overwatch before, but this one with entities, I genuinely think that this is your client just isn't being given access to enough information. Nowhere near as aggressively as it should be. And I don't know why. Because like, in a multiplayer game, if you were doing this for like a multiplayer FPS implementation or something, you wouldn't give the client access to other players' information that much. Like, you know, it's what you would want to do is to keep as much of that information that the client should not be needing to display. You just not even send it to them until it's relevant, right? For really obvious reasons. It just means that it's literally impossible for a cheat to ever do anything with it, right? Because it's like your client literally doesn't know. There's nothing for the wall hand to show. You know, in some older games, like for example Unreal Tournament, you can enemies are not like you still know roughly where things are, and then the rendering process determines what it's going to show or not show. But you know, that's like quite old. Modern games you can do a lot. I am almost certain that what is happening here is that your client is simply discovering late. But to go back to fighting games, one of the issues they had with rollback is that you have to do a thing called resimulation. So when your client and the server disagrees, it's like you can imagine it being like alternate histories. So imagine a really extreme connection where you are, let's say, 5 seconds. You've got 5 seconds of latency to the server. You're playing from space, right? And 5 seconds ago, your machine predicted something, or you did something different to what the server thought you would do. And so now the two worlds have diverged, and you have to heal this rift. And so what happens is the server sends a packet that arrives to you 5 seconds later, and it says 5 seconds ago, this is what actually happened. You got shot. And what your client has to do is to go 5 seconds back in time and resimulate everything from 5 seconds ago up to the present based on this new information. And that process of resimulation is one of the big problems, because that trapper, for example, is a resimulation. Your client has been told, oh, actually, by the way,
a trapper over there is not real.
No, literally, it's just like, oh, by the way, you didn't know this, or, well, actually, the server doesn't know that you don't know this, by the way. The server's just sending you packets. But you just get a packet saying, there's a trapper here that's this far through this. Update your state. And your client goes, fuck, oh, I didn't even know that was there. I haven't got anything here. Okay, you know, start this, do that, etc., etc. Now, I'm pretty sure the way that this game does it is like a lot of other things. It'll have the trapper asset loaded, because you don't ever get enemies like just popping into existence round corners.
No, their animation state though isn't loaded, so that's why sometimes you turn around and just hitting the fucking gritty.
Exactly, yeah, they're an idle, or they're doing whatever. Like, you know, there's no regs where you have the enemies that are just standing there, you shoot them, and then they suddenly teleport into a crouch. And that's what will be happening, is the Spidey sense is essentially operating off the event of them shooting, which will be some combination of things that includes the animation and the sound. And so if your client has no idea this is going on, there's just nothing local to your machine that can possibly fix that hole. That is a problem in how the server is communicating with you. And there can be loads of reasons why this could be. I can imagine a bunch. Some of them are probably more or less likely. I have absolutely no idea what the implementation is. And I keep saying that simply because it's very easy for... if I was the netcode person, it's very difficult to have these conversations with someone who hasn't written the netcode, because, you know, basically the last time I was complaining about some stuff, and this has even happened recently, where...
Don't break into the aircraft.
You know, I'm just going to say what I was complaining about, which is, you know how sometimes with Devil Claw, you get that stutter on many of the animations where the animation state's being reset? Okay, so this is an example of where it's completely true that it's unavoidable, to an extent. And it goes something like this. Some things...
Get inside me and wiggle, right side.
Some things have to be simulated really, really accurate. And to take an example, the current state of a melee weapon on your client has to be 100% accurate. And it's not necessarily obvious why that is, but imagine, unlike a bunch of other stuff that happens, like, let's say an enemy is in the wrong place, right? But he's behind you, and your client just quietly corrects where he was standing. He just slides like 2 feet. And he just slides like 2 feet sideways. From the point of view of you as a player, that isn't that vital unless you're shooting him, right? His exact position doesn't change.
Oh, I got hit on the last one. Fuck my ass. Yeah, I'm TWBS. Okay, doing it again on the right side. Okay, I could stealth it, but I don't want to.
Too much, I think.
Oh, that's your grenade.
The ethic's too big. But yeah, you run into this problem where you essentially...
Are you kidding me?
Your faith inspires me, Guardian.
I'm so fucking happy I have this voice now. The Agitator is so horrible. He's by far the best voice actor. He has the worst personality.
But I just love it's more just like the way that he
Okay, let's go. Good time to try.
the way that he delivers his lines is very funny. Like I identify his vacuum capsule with the
No! Why? Okay, dude, I'm giving up. I'm simply not going to hack. We are going to spend the rest of our lives in this game.
Does Rutger Ducking have the technology?
Why did they ever make the fucking corruptors easier to burst, but they didn't think to give people like a one-hit raise when doing the data interrogators? I'm doing it. Halfway done. Oh, by the way, I've identified extremely replicatable, like, spawning issues on a lot of maps. Like, Refinery Delta's end events is literally spawning half the horde it should. Middle event is also not spawning horde. Same with X-Melter's end.
Yeah, I
don't know how they keep doing it, but they keep doing it.
I need to look at the diffs because I haven't actually looked at the spawning code in depth, but I probably need to because I think there are some things where it's like, if you look at how the spawning stuff is laid out, you can change the groups and what categories of things spawn quite easily. It's laid out in a fairly straightforward way. And it's the kind of thing where... Well, anyway, we can maybe talk about it on another one. But,
yeah.
Essentially, there could be some quite seriously... You know how there's actionable feedback and then there is the action itself? I think in some cases we could potentially offer things that are closer to just copy and paste this.
Okay, this time I'm getting it.
But,
Coming.
maybe, yeah, so just officially, the thing about resimulation has been an issue with a lot of games because very few games have the built-in capacity to play a sound starting at a certain point. It's just one of those things. I also suspect that that's not
Big balls hack, big balls hack. Let's go.
huge.
Steadily. Right side. It's over. Go back. It's over. Oh yeah, forget it.
Have you ever seen an enemy start an animation not from the start?
Well, when they hit the gritty, yes. Like they'll turn around and they'll be completely janking out. Like, you know what I mean? Like they look like they're literally crumbling inwards. Like their animation is completely busted, and then they'll just resume what they were doing.
Yeah, well, right, but that's not starting animation doing. That's just basically they're in an undefined state. Because I think what's because the other thing I wonder is if it's maybe not even a sound issue. It's the
Let's go
sound.
right side. No, they're on the left side. Okay, this is fine.
Yeah, until this event, it's good stuff.
Why is he not dying of fire? I thought for sure this gunner would die. I gambled on it. Oh, that dog! That dog was so quiet, dude. Like, I see the Spidey sense indicator, and I think, oh, he's in the tunnel, he's about to spawn. No, he's just sitting there. That bomber's really cooking us. Okay, dude, I'm doing it. Save me.
Cover me! Guardian, your leader's noted.
Help, other side. I did it! you can make that trapper look way brighter as well. But I can't. I keep it like people make fun of me, like they bully me, like I ran out of colors. Like, yeah, I ran out of colors. And what do you want me to say? There's not enough colors.
Are you colorblind?
No.
Who is it who's colorblind? Oh, it's skeleton. Yeah. I just remember someone in that group. The only thing that's good about my eyesight is that I have apparently like absolutely perfect color vision.
I have a pretty gaudy eyesight. I haven't tested it in a while.
I have terrible eyesight. I have such bad eyesight.
Let's go.
I went to a clinic like maybe 5 years ago to get implanted contact lenses, and they literally like charged me £100 and something to get a consultation where at the end they was like, yeah, actually we can't do any of these things. We can't give you the lenses because the lenses are a standard size and your pupils when dilated are 1.5 centimeters across, which is twice the size of the lenses. And we can't do LASIK because technically it will be too, we reduce your corneal thickness to an unsafe level. So good luck and enjoy glasses, bye!
Glasses really aren't that bad, honestly, if you can rock them.
Yeah, I'm fine with glasses.
It's just actually, I think it's like gives me such a annoyance after doing limited.
Kind of. I mean, I think it's if you wear them all the time. You know, you clean them maybe once a day, but it's like you're just not touching them, right? I think it's people have to take the glasses, you know, like reading glasses or whatever, they're sitting in a case, they're not kind of fucked up.
Dude, I think if I had glasses on my face, I'd just be constantly touching them just because I'd fidget with them.
I see, that's because you're not. See, I've been wearing glasses since I was like -1. I was born in glasses. The thing I want to know is I think I was actually, I can't even remember a time before I had glasses, so I don't think there was ever a point where I
came out of the room with glasses 3 times.
Exactly, I just bought a shitty eyesight. I remember talking to the optician. They were trying to explain it. They were just like, "Oh, it's because what eyeball is too long." And I was just like imagining that I had a sausage in my head, and my eyeball was shaped like a sausage. I think I can understand it.
You were saying something important about that code.
Oh yeah, basically the
I've been waiting for you to finish the point because I have some question to ask.
Yeah. But I was waiting to answer. But yeah, what I suspect is that it might be the case. The problem isn't technically a sound thing, it's just that all the sounds come from, they're cued at the beginning of an animation event. And when your client is told that this thing is actually happening, it's not told at what stage the animation the enemy is in. It's just simply told this is what the enemy is doing, and unless there is like a mid-animation point of update, it just simply simulates it from the start. And so the trapper that was shooting you, she does an animation, right? But you know how she sometimes seems to fire before the animation is played properly?
Yeah.
I think what that is it's just you're being told that she's fired a little bit late, or you get the message late. You're told when the shot comes, but the animation isn't resimulated from the beginning. Sorry, isn't resimulated.
That trapper is what I think made no sound. I think that was a pretty good example. But that's just because of the box booster muffling, which needs to go. Like, how much we're gonna have to do for that to not be a thing anymore. A box booster existing should make all sounds around it stop existing. It's horrible.
One version of the fix to silent box busters.
Prawn's stupid, they're not gonna follow it.
But yeah, that's my current feeling about both dogs actually, and the trapper, where it's just you've discovered that something is happening too late, and your client doesn't fix the hole properly. But I don't know, it feels like it feels like that should be a really obvious case to address. I don't know.
My question was basically, is there not a possibility to have a hybrid system where delay stuff happens from all the actions the player do, like as a save, like as a thing? Like, let's say you shout, there's a mutant in front of you, shout goes off, you hear the sound effect, your character doesn't shout, cooldown isn't there, and you, well, you get grabbed by the mutant because your shout doesn't actually exist. Wouldn't it be a possibility then to just be like, oh, okay, we are actually gonna give you the shout just a bit later. Because that was why Vermintide 2 was so good, because no matter what you did, it happened.
Well, so the thing about that is that what's happening in Vermintide 2 is you don't actually have like what's called a canonical account of events. So in Vermintide 2 you could have a replay of the whole game. But the replay of the whole game would include lots of things that are logically impossible. Like the example you've just given, I guess you could ask the host what they thought happened, and the host would be like, oh yeah, and this player during the shout got a latency compensated. Well, not latency compensated, I suppose. They just say, they reported that they shouted, and so the shout played 200 ms into them being grabbed. So, technically, you wouldn't do it like that, but I mean, you actually kind of can. But I mean, you just do it.
Oh my god!
Oh yeah.
That was a dog and a half.
Yeah, you just do it the way that you do a bunch of other stuff. Like, it's the push, right? It's the same thing with the push. So, you basically just special pace in some leeway. I mean, it really is that simple. And I think the only problem with the shout is, okay, so here is why the shout is a bit more complicated. With a dog, the only entity that is concerned about what the dog is doing is the dog. So, you know when a dog jumps at you and it pauses in midair? Yeah. You can see that happening with other players, right? You look at them and you see the dog briefly pause before it hits them.
Yeah.
With the shout, the problem is that the shout affects everything around the player, including the entity that has grabbed it, right? So let's imagine you get grabbed by a chaos Storm, and it turns out that you shouted. Now, from the point of view of the other players, what they see is someone get grabbed, and then they shout, and then the spawn would be staggered and drop the player.
Yeah, exactly what I want.
And the thing about that is, like, what you're forcing the server to do there is really simple. I don't actually know enough about how you do a dedicated server with this netcode module to know if it's a principal thing.
Well, I think it's just you special case actions like a shout, and then you're like, you don't need to resimulate everything. It's just that wait a bit. If you see that like cooldown go back up or your shout didn't go off, you give the shout, like the shout happens.
Here's what you do. You just make it so that there's like 250 ms.
I don't know how any of this works.
No, you just make it so that the 250 ms after any CC action by a specialist or an enemy, a late shout will turn up, and it's just the character reacting to getting grabbed, and they just have, maybe if they need it, they can have a slightly adjusted animation for the drop, and that's actually fine. It's actually a direct equivalent in fighting games, which is do you know what a throw tech is?
No.
It's if you press throw when another character throws you in a window, you break the throw. You can basically, you just special case it like that.
Don't call it tech and not a counter. That seems like a
Oh, because it's not a counter. So counters a counter is a counter attack. So there's usually like, but it's fighting game terms. They vary wildly from game to game. Throw attacking, I don't know why it's called throw attacking. In the US, they have completely insane names for all the moves. Like, they call light punch jab. Yeah, they have jab, strong, and fierce. Can you guess which one is heavy punch?
Fierce?
Yeah, not strong. Strong is medium punch. Every time I hear it, I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Why don't they call it medium?
Because apparently this is based on, like, some ancient, poorly translated Street Fighter 2 cabinet, where the attacks were called jab, strong, fierce.
Okay, that's sold. An attack called fierce is actually kind of...
But then in other games they call them all numbers. They call all the directions numbers, so they'll say you've got a 6 MK, where it's like, I think it's 6 on the clock, so that's down, okay? I have never played one of those. Usually they do that for anime games and some anime games and stuff. Yeah, it gets horrible, but yeah, I mean, I think that's what you want. Yeah, you just want it special cased.
Did that trapper seem quiet to you?
Yeah.
She did her whole sound routine correctly, but she was extremely quiet.
She's not that loud.
Yeah, she needs to be made quite louder. If there was a single thing muffling her here, be it bad geometry or a burster, I could not have heard of.
But to be fair, I don't think the volume is usually what you're running into. It's 99% she's made no sound at all.
There is definitely though.
Yeah. And you see, again, it's kind of funny, right? Because why does the dog now work mostly pretty well in brackets if you're using push? And the answer is because there's like design counterplay, right? So the game has this state that it's expecting you to be attempting to execute, and so that's been nicely special cased.
Wait, the push is... I thought all they did was just like give it like an insane range detection, so that it would serve as a form of ghetto lag comp.
Oh no. It does do that. That's absolutely true. But the dog hanging in midair is the other side of things. It's where if you're given a massive grace period.
Two spawns. Trapper, where you going? There's a dog behind us as well.
Oh, good.
What?
Actually, I should see how that's implemented, but I never checked. Yeah, you're given a straight up and down grace period on top, and there's some other stuff going on. It's super, like...
That's good. Now do it for all the other things you can do when a dog is on you.
Well, exactly, that's exactly what you're running into, which is, you know, nice, but... there's a...
I think I lost both spawns.
Lost the sport.
But knowing that the aggro bug isn't gonna be fixed this century is like putting so much dread in me.
What's the aggro bug?
If one of those grabs me, I'm instantly dead because the other one's gonna hit me through the grab even though it's nice.
Oh, actually, yeah, the nice. Well, no, I think there's complexity. I think it's something that enough people. No one thinks that that's fun.
We triumph in the good.
I mean, it's not beyond the very real frustration of something truly bullshit happening. It's also like violating design intent. Like, this is designed to be a soft disable and it's being turned into that. Like, wow. Just how? Why is that a thing?
Well, I mean, to be frank, that's like I don't think that's the problem with it necessarily, in the sense that lots of stuff in the game, it's like something that's usually not that bad gets much worse when you're under pressure. I think it's more just that it's clearly been special paced to behave a certain way usually, and then that logic hasn't been followed through to its end state. You know, it's like if you've gone this far, why not actually make it work? You know what I mean? It's like. And I think it's also fun too that just I think if the bosses were more dangerous during their normal uptime too, it would feel less frustrating.
Well, the issue with the boss is around they either do nothing, instantly jib you because of bullshit circumstances like ledging or hitting you through a grab, or it's the Beast of Nurgle and it spews on you and now you can't play the game for like X amount of time.
If you don't have the remove full screen effects, you can't see either.
Yeah. Man, when on stream, the Petra guy like injected the damage to him, I could not believe my eyes.
Yeah.
How is that?
Yeah. It's the same. Honestly, that's one of the things I find frustrating about executioner starts as well.
Wait, how did that evolve?
The default executioner starts effect is pretty wild. It's no good. But
I don't know why those versus Nagar on me. I wanted to do a thing to save it.
But yeah, it's like with the plague open, conceptually, what should be the most dangerous thing about like a huge plague-empowered demonic ogre?
Him hitting you with his giant
Him
hand.
hitting you with his huge fucking meaty hands, exactly. And it's like, he doesn't do any damage when he hits you. And isn't it weird how like, his melee attacks that aren't the tentacle are so bad. I mean, the tentacle's bad too because it's super generous, but it's like conceptually you'd think the tentacle would be like a bait attack. Like he's normally quite short range because he's trying to use his arms, but if you're further away, he can hit you with the tentacle, right? It's like a he can further away than you thought, but it's a bit less dangerous. But instead,
I think it's the greatest indicator that like there's something wrong with the bosses is that you're never really looking at what they're doing. Like you just pilot a boss fight so hard in this game. Yeah. Just completely like eyes closed. Like you could literally beat a Pokemon with your eyes closed and be like, oh god. Like you could just tank him and still manage to kill him.
I mean, that's the other thing is that none of the boss overheads are overheads.
Yeah, that is weird. Like twice as big as a fucking Pokemon.
Yeah, and the Chaos Form seems like an enemy that should definitely have a guard break because it's like
he's kind of designed to be like you want to block me in certain circumstances.
Yeah, you're against the wall, right? Sometimes you just gotta block. I mean, he's got that double tentacle overhead slap, which intuitively your brain's like, oh, that really should be a guard break, and then you block it.
It's a normal attack.
Wait. It's really weird. Yeah, and the same is true with the Plague Ogre. The Plague Ogre just needs a proper moveset. As much as anything else. He really does. Because like if you're standing on his right but you're left, he basically only has one thing he can do. He just does the tentacle. He doesn't have right arm attacks. It's really weird. And then if you're standing on the other side, he just does the stomp or the overhead attack. That's it.
I think I've lost the Pokemon. Thank you for saying that screen. What did the dog do here? I'm so confused.
He made a funny noise.
Dumping. Okay, I nearly did it to myself again. Oh, how did that snipe me? Just in the warning sound. Hello? What was that? That's for sniping me earlier. Dickhead. That was a weird sniper. Maybe you did make the sound of this one. Just a weird sequence of events happening. Dude, that green dog, I genuinely don't know what it was attempting to do.
I mean, I think he jumped and then had the jump cancelled by something. But...
Yeah, but he did it like literally in the middle of the air.
Yeah, they do that. But again, I don't know. There could be several reasons why it's that.
Dude, we need to do something about bruisers. Bruisers, I think, are like the most unrealized enemy, like right after gunners. Like, why are they like this?
I mean,
they really should be made into a better representation of being between an elite and trap.
They're just the same as they've been since Game Hero, pretty much. They're tougher. But I mean, it's the same as everything else. They haven't had their animations changed. They're just...
Yeah. Spawn less of them and make them big. Ooh, health stem. Like, actually big. Give them weapon variations. Like, some of them should have a shield, some of them should have two-handers, you know, that kind of stuff.
The funny part is they do have weapon variation. But it's just like, they can have a sword or a club or a mace or a thingy. It's the same with Rages, actually. Rages have quite a lot of different weapons. And it never matters.
Yeah. I mean, I think with bruisers, they have, like, oh, you told me one of the weapons, like, has better dodge catch or something really cursed like that.
Yeah, although I need to go back and double check that, but I think it was the sword version, and I'm not sure if it was just that it was like attack range or something, or it was just where I was standing, but it did seem like it had a slightly different effect. It certainly sounded different. Which is funny, but yeah, there's... why are bruises the way they are? Yes. I think there is a... It would be nice if there were certain things that were substantially improved.
Well said.
I'd be interested to see what's going on with the with some of the netcode stuff too, just because it is very odd.
I remember Jasper losing his mind going through the code. Sun Trapper. I got a penance.
It's one of those things that the Lua isn't like a programming language that behaves like most of the programming languages that a programmer would have dealt with. It's all like it's a scripting language, so classes don't really exist, and it doesn't throw errors the way a normal programming language does. If you ask for a variable that doesn't exist, it doesn't automatically throw an exception or an error. You can look at something that doesn't exist and evaluate it to a number or to a true or false. There's no contract between anything, so like none of the objects have to have any structure, which is why the nice script boosters never work, for example. Yeah. It does let you do things fast, but
At what cost?
I think
Fuck, I love that.
judiciously use many of these things are features, but they do have downsides, and the downside is that you gotta know what you're doing. I feel like programming, or the lesson of a lot of programming is that every programmer thinks they're that guy, and almost no one is that guy. I am the man who will not be tripped up by this random thing.
Proceeds to fall in space.
Exactly, narrates his voice. It turns out that it would have been quite helpful for him to have the class structure here, or you know what.
Buttons on you, watch for ledge, Because the only way this stupid toxic can be injured is he just silently charges at you and just sends you off the map.
So look, he can use overhead and stop, that's it. If you just stay on this side of him, all he will do is overhead and stop, or maybe charge. That's it. Just over.
I'm dead. Oh, what happened?
I got stunned by gunners. And I
Oh, yeah.
I work in the shadows.
The sniper having a beat on me there was really sassy.
I had a beat on what is.
Yeah, that did not look like that. I love when the talent makes me able to shoot my gun.
Hell.
Fuck, that stun removal change is so good.
There is an interesting question to be asked about what the purpose of hip fire should be on a lot of guns.
Well, as long as suppression stays the way it is, maybe we shouldn't mess with that.
Well, no, but I mean, it's reverse, right? Because so, if you take a game like Counter-Strike, right, every gun is well, it's not hip fire. Technically, people always get, actually it's not hip fire, it's point shooting. Except I think in Counter-Strike it's not even point shooting. Oh, absolutely. If you call it hip fire in Tarkov, like 3,000 well actuallys will pop out of the life and be like, actually, it's point shooting. You don't hip fire any of the guns in Tarkov.
I guess for Counter-Strike it makes sense because there's no alternative. Like, it is kind of weird to call it hipfire because there's nothing else. Oh, medkit.
But also in Counter-Strike, when you fire, your character animates by raising the gun to their line of sight. So it's technically always ADS. And whenever you fire, your character does the actual positioning of the gun to fire it, which is really weird. I always remember it with the M4A1 in CS 1.6, and you'd be watching in third person when you were dead. You just see someone like raising the gun to their eye every time they fire on a slight delay. But it's more just kind of so ADS in a game like this is meant to be the way that you do accurate shooting. But for some guns, for example, like Braced Autos, it's the other way. Like the hipfire feels like it should be doing something different. And the way hipfire tends to work in this is it's just like inaccurate and kind of shitty and doesn't really attempt to have any recoil that is interesting. It just kind of, you know what I mean? Like it just kind of goes everywhere. It's not technically spread, but it's basically so inaccurate that it's not designed to be controlled. And the ADS is designed to be controlled. And, hey, hell, easy. Hey, wait, 4 out of 4? Classical farmers?
Yeah. Look the sound they make.
I think the idols are cool. And I think because they're shootable, they're a much... You know, like having something like that where it's like a sort of awareness check as opposed to did you go and press E on all of the crates, so this is probably less.
Yeah. I just don't really care about any of the new content except with the drug bomber, and he hasn't spawned once this mission, as he often does, so I'm kinda cut. Like the gas modifier is bad, the puzzles are kinda who cares, the idols are kinda who cares.
The puzzle one I think right, it's like, it's nice, but it's not for you.
I mean, the people that it is for are gonna do it once and then never again. It's like, well, yeah, okay, cool. You've changed all these things in the map for something that's gonna take up like 5 minutes of collective game time. I don't know. I try not to think about it, or I'm gonna get sad.
No, I mean, I'm right with something like this because it is, you know, it's
surprising amount of production values. Look at that much. Like the dialogue from the Archer Skulls is kind of cool.
Yeah, because that's how I look at it, right? Is that although you would only do it once, there is something there. Just you know, the skulls talking and the areas of the maps that have been adjusted have been made cooler in general. So I'm kind of just like, you know, it's.
Ladder and level success. I'm also really mad how Draco went live. Oh wait, did.
You know.
Okay, let's go.
Things get logged in, but I mean, so much of this is events too. Like.
Let's just we could both like curb stomp and like kill it. Oh my god, I just got lammoed. Popping fire nade. I can cycle those pretty well actually.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think of how I look at stuff like penances in the context of a game like this, where it's really, you know, but there are some people where penances are enough to motivate them to do things, where it's like, you know, they really do have what you could call bar-filling mindset.
Well, I think the system is nice. I think the requirements are kind of nuts. Like, play 50 missions of a certain type. We don't have mission selection.
Oh yeah, but for some of those, they're not really meant to be farmed, and it's like, achievement design I'm putting to one side.
Yeah, I get it.
This is more like conceptually the system. Like, to me, the point of a system like that should be that it gets people who aren't necessarily directing their attention to gameplay.
Oh
Jesus.
Okay. That fucking trapper, man. I had no idea she was there. Oh, the shotguns are here. Looking back for a dump. Undump. Oh fuck, hate it. That's a horrible barrel. Wait, did that barrel suck me towards it? That's retro. That trucker was going to attempt a disgustingly long net on you, dude.
Yeah, I think here's how I would think.
How did that hit me, man? These snappers are fucked up. Jeez. I don't know what they've done to him. I'm firing on it. Dog on you?
Imagine if you could have a dual captain, right?
That's actually one of the things I wanted. I don't know why he's alone. We got 2 variants. Like the only thing we got was the Karnak twins and he's stuck.
Like the way you said that, I'm imagining like a Nurgle body system. never leave this squad without your body captain.
Yeah, no. It really should be like a full pair.
Or you have like a captain with like a lieutenant or a sergeant or something.
Yeah, he's under there. He's literally his right-hand man, like a sidekick.
Yeah. Or that could be like what happens halfway through, right?
Get out there, get out there now, get out there now. Go back.
That corner is
Yeah. Oh, finishing off the boss. Okay, there we go.
I wish I could be finished off by brothers. That's the thing.
Oh yeah.
Have I told you the story of the only wipe I've ever seen on this event? With
Yes.
the pod mastermind, that corner. Every time I see it
Do
now,
retell it. Do retell it.
it's it was literally like 3 or 4 months ago, so quite recently. I log on and I'm doing.
Oh, I watched it after the game. See, that's the case where the game should be specialty, so I'm just doing this one.
Yes, well, there's stealth interaction with dog jump is interesting. And this guy is like, here's how we do this. We're going to all stand in this area at the start, and then we're going to funnel them all in, and it'll be really easy. And I was just like, are you sure? And I've never seen anyone try this before because it sounded so self-evident, so self-evidently stupid because enemies come over the wall and the bursters come and stuff. And then like literally in 20 seconds in, 3 bursters came, and none of the people who were at the outside of the area pushed them, and they jumped in and killed everyone. And I was just laughing like a trade. And then the dude flamed everyone. And I was just like, brother, I thought I went along with this to see if it was as
They
dumb as I
followed
thought
the
it was.
plan. They followed
Exactly,
the plan.
exactly. We followed the plan, and this was indeed. I just love pub masterminds are always on another level.
That clip of the Ogren you found was just like such a treasure.
GG's.
Like, Psycho's just pure CC on Damnation with